Welcome back. I wanted to continue on this last video because I did receive a number of emails regarding from my thoughts about what an invasion in Venezuela would do to affect the DR and other Caribbean countries, because obviously my subscribers know I reside out here. First of all, and first and foremost, I want to reconfirm that I think any invasion in Venezuela is going to send a further negative message regarding the West. The other nations you're playing around with are far more powerful than your propagandized media is giving them credit for, particularly India, Russia, and China. I feel this invasion is going to do nothing but move them closer together and all of the BRICS nations, which is also a contributing factor while there's now 19 other nations that are lined up to join BRICS. Please understand, you're alienating yourselves. People will not accept, nations will not accept the willy-nilly overthrowing of their governments and imposing power regardless of how they feel about it in their own nations. Everything is being done also through the mask of national security, which again has a lot to do with the drug issue in my previous video, which I covered about Venezuela. Okay, national security is the only time that will allow the president to overthrow Congress. Congress has to initiate war and invasion. The president normally does not have that power except in one scenario, and that is the threat of national security. So summing it up, I feel an invasion is going to bring other nations closer together. I also feel an invasion is likely going to spike oil prices in the Caribbean and the DR, particularly diesel. Venezuela produces an awful lot of what's called heavy crude, and that's vital for diesel. Okay, they also have all other types of petroleum, but initially it is going to spike prices around the world. I would expect it to significantly increase prices in the DR. Most of our fuels are imported in the DR. Now, the country itself does have an abundance of fuel and natural resources, gold, silver, which is why you're finding mining companies from Canada, as well as, I believe, Spain, mining here for gold. But we do hold a fair amount of natural reserves, which is one of the reasons I did relocate here. However, we're not currently using our crude. We're not producing it to any type of usable volumes. I also feel it's going to radically increase the cost through transportation and electrical costs and supply disruption. Okay, America is going into Venezuela. I covered it in the previous video. There's no other reason but its natural resources. This has nothing to do with drugs, and it was actually a pretty smart ploy on their part of how to get around it by the president directly going into it by using the drugs as a threat of national security. I go into the other video about the reasons why I think you really need to look in your own backyard. And honestly, remember, when you're pointing your finger at other nations or other people, kindly remember that generally 3 fingers are pointing back at you, okay? The problem is you. The world has changed. Other nations have become exceptionally strong. Their militaries are exceptional forces that you don't want to mess around with. You've actually spread yourselves out way too thin to be causing wars in other nations. This is not going to benefit you, and this is actually going to be very detrimental. So besides the DR, I think all Caribbean countries, as a matter of fact, I think all countries are going to feel the effects if America goes in. So what do you think the worldview of America is going to be if you do go into this and then actually cause an invasion? Okay, the reason is you do want American companies in there controlling. You do want to also throw a wrench into China's supply, which is only going to get them to either react, which I think they might. Russia, I don't believe will, but China will, or seek other sources, i.e. like their next door neighbor. So again, is that going to move them further apart, or is that going to actually create a closer bond? I'll let you decide on that. But even though the DR doesn't necessarily import a tremendous amount from Venezuela, the side effects are going to affect, and they're going to cause a substantial uptick in prices, including the price of diesel. And especially the price of diesel, because they have a lot of heavy crude. The DR gets most of its oil. It originates from, let me think for a minute here, the U.S. is its chief supplier. It also has Spain, then Venezuela. It also has Mexico and Brazil. So it is getting its oil from various other sources. However, this is going to uptick the price. It may uptick it substantially for diesel. It's going to affect the Caribbean, as well as affecting through shock and through supply chains, through transportation and electrical, all countries. I do not think many nations are going to look favorable upon this. I do not think it's going to be successful. I think it has the makings of a second Vietnam. And so it goes on and on. When is the nation ever going to learn? The world is changing. The only way everybody benefits from this is through cooperation and commerce. The old my way or the highway rule, that's out the window, and it's out the window now for many years. You can see it in the West. You could see while capital is flowing to the West, it always does when there's threats of war. What you're finding is wealth is reverting to the east, slowly but surely. Be careful what you wish for. This thing could backfire in a big way. Anyway, that's my thoughts about it. And if you have any different thoughts or you agree, please write a comment. And I'm easy to get a hold of. Until next time, it's Old Barry. Bye.